People paying money to see me in a 20 by 20 ring.
Hello again, wrestling fans, and welcome to another edition of the 20 by 20 Ring Crew. I'm Matt, alongside Joe.
Hey, what's up?
And today, as always, we have wrestling on in the background. Today we're watching the greatest Royal Rumble, or at least allegedly the greatest Royal Rumble. I know if you've already watched it. This is my first time watching it. As we see Triple H come out to the ring, just go one-on-one against John Cena. This was an interesting one, this event, for me, and you as well, because on the show, we talk so much about women wrestling and how great it is that they're finally getting the respect that they deserve. They're not being treated as objects anymore. They're wrestlers. Believe it or not, female wrestlers are wrestling now, so that's great. They do this show, they're in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. None of the women are at the event, or at least that I know of. They didn't travel. None of the women traveled.
No, none of them traveled.
This is an all male cast. This is what they knew that going into it. Are you okay with that? Are you okay with them isolating female talent to go make some dough in Saudi Arabia?
No, you know what? And you and I just had this conversation before we started recording. No, I'm not okay with it. I'm not okay with it because I get it. This is a big deal, and Saudi Arabia wanted them to come over and do the show there. And there's a lot of money tied up on both ends. And, you know, it's estimated that the WWE is making in upwards about $200 million off of this show.
It's a lot of dough.
It is a lot of dough. And from a business standpoint, I completely understand that. But this has got to be like a big fucking slap in the face to the whole women's roster at this point. Like, yeah, you know, we care about you, but you just, no, we're going to go do this show without you, and that's it. The reason I feel that way is because you clearly have at least one facility that you could use any given moment you want to, and guess what? You did not put any of the women on a card here in the U.S. at that facility. If it were me, okay, do we have to do this Saudi Arabia show? Sure. Okay, go and do it. I would have taken my women's roster. I would have set them up at the Performance Center, threw a card together, got some people who would not have wanted to attend the show. It would have been an easy draw.
Yeah.
They could have kept, you know, they would have had their own card.
You know, I agree with that, because let's look at it this way. So this weekend that you and I are recording this, Shine is putting on its 50th show. Congratulations to Shine Wrestling.
Yes, congratulations, ladies. Shine
and Shimmer and many other wrestling organizations exist, and they do this all the time. So you want to make $200 million, who's to stop you? And I said this earlier in the show, or before we started recording the show, that this is where I probably become the bad businessman, because I look at that women roster and I say I can't pick making dollars. That $200 million is a lot of money, but WWE can make $200 million elsewhere too. I can't disrespect my female roster like that. I can't do that. You decided to go ahead and do it. Okay, that totally makes sense. Friday, you do this show. Maybe Friday night, because remember, for us in the United States, this is a morning show.
Yeah.
East Coast, it was, noon. For everybody else, it was a morning show, start time. So how about Friday night? Do a special one night only. Raw and SmackDown, NXT women together. Maybe throw in some legends, if you will. Do something like that.
Throw something together.
Yeah.
I mean,
you have the platform in the network. It's not like it's costing anymore.
Exactly.
You could do it from Full Sail. You can do it from, I'm sorry, I don't know the name of the arena in Atlanta, Georgia they're using for NXT, but you don't need a big arena. It could be a very intimate, like you said, the training facility down in Orlando. Very intimate setting. It doesn't matter how big the crowd crowd is, as you know, you and I know that because we're independent wrestling fans. What's inside that ring, that's what matters the most. And boom, it's give them their own show, their own highlight reel, if you will, and I don't just make it right, because it just I don't know anybody on the female roster that has come out and said that they're not they're unhappy about this personally, and that could just be them not wanting to hurt their standing in the company.
Make waves, yeah.
I can't imagine it's not. It can't be the best feeling in the world, you know. And it's no disrespect to the Saudi Arabia. If we have any listeners from Saudi Arabia, hey, thank you for listening. Here in America, that's disrespectful. It has to be taken into account that once Jeddah, Saudi Arabia is done with, and this Greatest Royal Rumble is over, and you come back to the United States, well, that doesn't mean anything now. You got your $200 million, great. Now it doesn't mean anything. So now what? Why is Jeddah, why is Saudi Arabia, I should say, so much special compared to other countries where they're getting this giant pay-per-view? So it just seems like maybe there's more to it. Maybe there's going to be more events, which means more events in which women don't compete, don't show up.
From what I understand, this whole situation with Saudi Arabia is at least partially at the request of Saudi Arabia. They're trying to improve relations with neighboring countries and just in a general sense, and so they thought this would be something that would benefit them in a positive manner.
And that's fine.
So
I got no problem with international relationships.
No, neither do I, but I think what makes this a little worse for me, and I'm sure you'll agree here, is this is coming at a time where they have been putting the women consistently on the cards at a much more substantial rate.
Yeah, multiple times in a show.
Yeah, multiple times in a show. Sometimes the main event on television.
Just like this past Monday night on Raw.
And you know, now that we see all this kind of happen the way it happened, I wonder if that wasn't like a, hey, we'll give you ladies the main event on Monday Night Raw as kind of like a consolation for you not being able to attend and work in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
Which, if that's the case, that's kind of shitty.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, I'm appreciative of the ladies getting the spotlight, but at the same time, I think they should have just had their own show. Put together their own show. It doesn't have to be a big venue. It doesn't have to be obnoxiously expensive.
Yeah.
None of that. Just let them have their own show.
Right, I agree. After watching, I always love when international countries have on American stuff, and I'm a hockey fan. I'm a huge Anaheim's Ducks fan. Unfortunately, we didn't go very far this year in the playoffs. But I found it interesting that there's a random Ducks shirt in the crowd. I just that was pretty cool for me. As you were talking, I was like, "Wow, that's interesting," because it has nothing to do with wrestling, and he's just a random Ducks fan. It was the Mighty Ducks logo too, so maybe he's a Disney fan. But yeah, I agree, and I'm all about respecting the countries that they're in. Obviously, you should. You don't have to agree with it, but it is what it is. You know, just like when they did the India tour. You know, Sasha Banks and Alexa Bliss, they went at it, and they got huge pops, but they had to alter their attire. They couldn't show skin above their neck. Yeah. Pretty much. So it was, and they did it. They had full body suits, and they still put on the match. I never saw the match. I'm not gonna say it was good or bad, but they put on a match. I'm all about respecting customs, but it's at the same time you have to appeal to as many of your roster as you possibly can. And we're not talking about just a few people here. We're talking about an entire gender that's continuously growing on your roster. If they can't do the Saudi Arabia show, you know, it sucks. You know, but it is what it is. I don't know. Make it right. Make it right for them. Make it right for the fans. You're all about preaching to the kids because you're a PG show. You're all about the kids. What message does that send to all the little girls out there?
Yeah, exactly.
You're not welcome everywhere in the world. So I mean, just deal with it because we want to make some money.
That's shitty. That's really shitty.
That's not good. You know, it's not. Sami Zayn also didn't go for religious reasons.
Which again, that's his prerogative, and if he didn't feel welcome, then he didn't feel welcome, and I don't blame him.
I'm not not sure. I'm very ignorant on the Muslim religion, so I didn't know there was different kinds.
Yeah, in a nutshell, he's like I said before we started recording. I think more or less what it was he's kind of like the wrong kind of Muslim, so to speak.
Yeah, I don't know anything about the. I'm Christian, so I don't know. I noticed too the show, like you have this giant bowl, and then you have seats, like ringside seats, and then giant gaps. Yeah, so giant gaps between the ringside and the bowl. Do you have any idea to why that is? It just seems really odd.
No, I don't know the reasoning for the setup. It does seem odd, especially if you're there to make a lot of money, unless this was something that was more or less asked for by whoever is in charge of the venue.
Yeah, because it's weird, because if they're making $200 million, I'm assuming they're being paid up front, because it's not a sold out show.
Yeah,
there's tons of empty. I don't say tons, but a number of empty seats throughout the venue that I've seen, and I don't know what they're charging for a ticket. But,
well, you know what? I don't know what they're charging for tickets, and also I don't know how many tickets were given away.
Yeah.
So, I mean, even if that's the case, like, if they were giving away tickets, if they were paper in the place, then that still kind of sucks, because they didn't. There's clearly seats available.
Yeah. I know it's John Cena here without his girl or fiance now. Yeah, I don't know if you know this little interesting fact. He made her sign a document that once they broke up.
75 pages.
It's insane. I mean, he's well prepared for this, I guess. I mean, kudos to him, I guess, for not wanting to go through any legal troubles, but holy shit.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not, as far as that goes, I'm not in John Cena's shoes, nor do I care to be. But
you don't want a cigar room in your house?
No. I really don't know what exactly to say to that. I mean, you're right. I guess he is prepared in the legal sense, but that is kind of off-putting.
If you have to be that prepared, you probably should just not get in relationships.
Yeah, and well, yeah, obviously, I mean, she's pretty upset, and about the breakup and everything, and I would be too. I mean, you don't. If I were John Cena, I would not have gotten into a relationship.
Yeah.
At least nothing like that meaningful. I mean, he asked her to marry him in front of thousands of people, live in attendance, and then millions watching at home.
To bring out our inner Michael Buffer.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's wow.
It's really weird to I mean, I know about prenups and all that stuff. Like, I mean, I'm a married man. I don't have one of those, and that's my preference. And really, I didn't have the stuff that Cena has when I got married, and I don't know. If you have to go that route, is it ever really love? I mean, this is not a love show. We're not
we're
love
not
doctors here, but it's just weird. When I heard about that, I just found that just strikingly odd that he had her sign all that stuff while they were dating, just dating.
Yeah,
they weren't even married.
Yeah,
but going back to the whole women thing, there was another interesting topic of discussion when it comes to one particular woman here, and that's Alexa Bliss, who has technically been in matches but hasn't been actively competing since WrestleMania, and we just found out earlier this week that it was due to a certain surgery.
Yeah, she went and had breast augmentation done, and there's a lot of mixed feelings about this.
Sure. And I agree with them.
I don't. Obviously, neither Matt nor myself know Miss Bliss personally, So
Not yet.
Not yet. So we don't know. This is all hearsay and rumor and speculation. But
Yep.
I bring this up because of how this company has been in the past. So let me explain. So she goes under the knife and she gets the breast enhancement done, and that is her reason for taking time off. From the sounds of it, she's going to be back for their Backlash pay-per-view
Scheduled for it,
in the month of May. Whether or not she competes is a whole different thing, but from the sound of it, from everything we're reading online, it sounds like she's going to come back and basically take the title back, like right away. So, being that, with that information out there, again, even though it's still rumor and speculation at this point, I can't help but wonder, because of this company's past and in the way their women talent have been treated at times, I have to ask the question, how much of this is the company's doing? How much of this is the company saying, hey, you're going to be our champion for a while, you might want to think about looking a certain way. Now, I'm not saying that's something that's right to do. Like, I'm not saying that's very moral on anyone's part, but...
Well, they are an entertainment company.
To me, that's not a good fucking excuse.
Well, I'm saying that's what entertainment companies do to female talent.
Yeah, is entertain. And
sex sells.
Yeah, sex sells. No, I get that. I totally get that. And again, this is all speculation, so I'm not going to sit here and say that this is the truth of the matter. But I can't help but wonder, just because of past instances.
Yeah, I mean, look at some of the past champions that have been champions for a long time, or multiple or many reigns. Look at a Trish Stratus, for example. Certainly, she had the cleavage that they would want prior to coming to WWE, but I mean, it's very obvious that someone that looked like her was the one that continuously won. She was essentially the John Cena of the women's division in the 2000s.
And let's not forget, too, it's with this company, it's been more than just breast augmentation. It's been nose jobs.
Look at Paige.
Liposuction, things like that. So it wouldn't surprise me if there was a little truth to this matter.
If that is, I find it very disturbing that they do this for many reasons, but for the immediate reason of Nia Jax just wins the Raw Women's Championship at WrestleMania, and they do this whole anti-bullying thing. If you ever been bullied, because for her it's because of her weight. She's plus size, and they have poked fun at that, especially with the Alexa Bliss character. They definitely had poked fun at her weight, and it was that feel good story, if you will, that they were going with, where it's like she overcame the bullying, and now she's the champion after all, persevering and all that stuff. And then you would turn around and say, hey, Alexa, you need bigger breasts, you need to look a certain way, and all while we're feeding the fans this whole, doesn't matter how you look, it's all about what's, what beats inside your body, your heart, all that stuff. And it's like such a contradiction that it almost is. It has WWE written all over it. Unfortunately,
it does. It really does.
And it's a shame too, because I've said it on the show. I said it on the WrestleMania hype show, WrestleMania weekend hype show, that I like Alexa Bliss for multiple reasons. To say that she's beautiful is an understatement. And I don't know. I mean, I'm a happily married guy, but I look, of course. And I never really looked at her and said she's small chested. I mean, it's never really came about that way. And, it could be the attire and stuff like that. And all of it too is I just don't care. But I noticed it right away from her Instagram post. Alexa Bliss, when she's not wrestling, she usually doesn't show off a whole lot of skin. It's just really not her style, I guess. She's usually wearing jeans, t-shirt, whatever. I don't know. But lately she's been posting Instagram posts of her in a bikini, and they're clearly showcasing her cleavage. And my subconscious thought was, that's different. And then a couple days later, I see the post to why she wasn't competing, which I wasn't really even paying attention. I thought they were just doing this whole angle, and plus she was in the 10-woman tag team match on Raw. But then it dawned on me, yeah, she didn't actually compete in the match. She was just there.
She was just there.
She was on the apron. It's just wow, that's why, and I guess to contradict or counter-argue your point, which I'm not saying I disagree with, but just a little thought to think about, is that Alexis Kaufman, the woman behind Alexa Bliss, she's been known to have issues with body shaming in the past. During her younger days, she had a lot of issues with her weight, and she battled anorexia for quite some time before she took up bodybuilding and took up healthy eating. So it could be one of those things where she wasn't satisfied with her looks. There's women out there who out of nowhere do this and get this surgery done, and it is what it is. So it could be that too. So I don't know. It just, there's so many things about this company, about the WWE, that just really strike me as, I guess, odd that these things happen, and they're kind of seem to still, whether they're part of it or not, whether they're the part of the deciding factor or not, they're at the forefront of it all. And it just, I kind of have to lean towards your theory a little bit, just because.
You know what? One thing we haven't mentioned so far, and it's kind of like a different point of view of the same situation here, is I also want to know if anyone, before she got the surgery done, if anyone from the company set her aside and asked her, hey, could you not do this?
Yeah.
I mean, clearly they only have so much control over the people they employ,
right?
And I'm not trying to relegate this to the equivalent of getting a tattoo,
sure,
but at the same time, it's kind of like the same situation where when it involves creative control or a certain look, then yeah. Along those lines, it is kind of the same thing with surgeries and tattoos and whatnot. So
right.
I would like to know. I would like to be that fly on the wall. Did anyone approach her and ask her if this is completely necessary, or did anyone try to dissuade her from doing this? That would be really interesting to know.
Well, not only just in management, I wonder if any of her fellow, her colleagues,
that too,
said, "Hey, why?" Is there something is there something deeper going on than this? Because again, what the red flag for me is the past history that she has as a person, where she looked at herself and really just had self-loathing, and maybe there's something deeper going on with her too. So it's hard to speculate, because this is so brand new. But it'd be interesting to hear in the upcoming weeks if she comes out and says the reason why.
Yeah, definitely.
Going back to the greatest Royal Rumble, I'm looking at the Wikipedia page, because I don't know if I'm going to watch this whole thing. And I noticed here that Triple H and John Cena, with the exception of the Royal Rumble match itself, they had the longest match. And here we have Cedric Alexander versus Kalisto for the Cruiserweight title, and it's you guys get less time than these old dudes that can't go anymore. I got a problem. I have a major problem with it. It has less time than a ladder match too, or more time.
You know what? Say. It's clearly they were trying to bring out the household names, the major stars.
Yeah, I get that.
and give it star power, and it sucks because let's face it, from an actual wrestling fan standpoint, I don't want to see John Cena and Triple H go at it.
No.
Even if they open the show, I could really give two shits.
Yeah.
I would rather you give me less of that and more of this cruiserweight match.
And seeing that this is no longer, obviously since we're watching it now, that it's no longer live. So I'm going to spoil just a little bit here. Look at some of these shitty finishes. AJ and Shinsuke, double count out.
Double count out.
What the fuck was that? I mean, here again, you have the opportunity. Okay, here's my point. All right, so people who are going to disagree with me on this, John Cena and Triple H should be a longer match because they're the household names. Look, you and I work retail, right? I don't work retail anymore. But
thanks, buddy.
I'm sorry. So when things go on sale, you bring people in with these crazy sales, right? Mm-hmm. And then once they're there, your whole goal is to get them to shop.
Yeah,
their whole
shop more.
So think of it. Take that mentality and bring it into wrestling here. John Cena and Triple H. That's your sale items right there.
Yeah, that's your gimme item.
Yeah, come see. We got John Cena and Triple H. We got The Undertaker in a casket match. You shouldn't want to see Undertaker in a casket match anymore. The dude's pushing 55, 60 years old now. I don't want to see that. But it's like, okay, since you're here, hey, look what else we got. We got Cedric Alexander and Kalisto. We got AJ Styles and Shinsuke Nakamura. We got a 4-man ladder match with Rollins, Balor, Joe, and The Miz. I'm not the biggest Miz fan or Finn Balor fan, but still, it's a ladder match, and they can put on a good show. Like those are the ones that we bring you in with these matches, we keep you with these matches, and it's just like, no, we're gonna give John Cena and Triple H almost 16 minutes, and everybody else is less, with the exception of the Royal Rumble. That's only because there's 50 guys to put in that
fucking
match.
Bullshit.
That's the issue that I have, because they're not the only company that does stuff like this where they bring in household names. You see it in independent wrestling all the time. Independent wrestling, you'll highlight, you'll bring back, like with PCW Ultra, they brought back Rob Van Dam, who can still go, but he's not the Rob Van Dam of old. Rob Van Dam of ECW days. But it's like, while you're here, we have Shane Strickland. We have all these other guys. Some guys that you've heard of from other companies, some guys that you haven't heard of. This is why you stay. And that's why I stayed.
Yes, exactly.
And it's great marketing to push that. We have this guy, we have that guy, we have this guy. Even guys who are relevant. We have Kenny Omega. Oh, fuck, yes. But it's like, well, we also have him, too. Or her, and, this and that. Again, wrestling is the ultimate variety show. And it's like they're okay with just giving you the pop. And the reason why I say the pop, because if you are familiar with the grocery industry, you don't make money off the pop.
No, you never make money off of soda or pop, whatever you want to call it. You never do.
So, yeah, you bought pop, but that's all you got from us. Yeah. You didn't buy the meat. So yeah, I saw this. I'm looking down this card, and I just like, this is complete crap. So enough of this greatest Royal Rumble bull crap, if you will. We're still gonna watch, but we're gonna half-ass watch. That's what I do with most WWE shows, anyways.
You're really not missing that much.
Yeah, no, I'm totally not. I want to talk about something that we mentioned back at episode 10, and I want to talk about the draw.
The draw.
Hashtag the draw.
Sami Callahan lighting up the wrestling world right now.
Again, if you don't know what's going on with Sami Callahan, you need to get yourself caught up with this guy.
You know what? Let's take him back. We'll do it in a nutshell. Ready? Here it goes. So there's an Impact Wrestling taping, roughly 3 months ago now, where Sami Callahan was a part of a tag team match against Eddie Edwards, and there was a spot in the match where there was a chair involved.
Yeah, there's a chair. The chair was on top of Eddie Edwards' face.
So the chair is open and is supposed to be balanced on Eddie Edwards' chest. And you have all that going on, and Sami Callahan brings a baseball bat into the ring. Now, what was supposed to happen was Sami Callahan was supposed to hit the chair, which would eventually put all that pressure onto Eddie Edwards' chest and or throat. But what actually happened was the baseball bat hit the chair at an awkward angle and essentially bounced off the chair and onto Eddie Edwards' face. And immediately Edwards leaves the ring. He rolls out of the ring. He goes straight to the back. He's calling for a doctor. Come to find out, his orbital bone broken.
Yeah.
He had stitches on his face in 2 different places, I believe. I think his nose was broke, and I think part of his cheekbone was fractured.
Honestly, given the situation, that's bad. But man, he got lucky.
He did get lucky. He could have easily lost sight permanently, things like that. Luckily, that didn't happen. So you have this botched situation that goes on. And I'm not saying botches are not uncommon, but ones involving weapons or props or what have you. Something of this magnitude, that's kind of a rarity in pro wrestling. You don't often see stuff like this. So it happens. There's nothing anyone can do about it except it's just damage control at this point.
Yeah.
Eddie goes to the hospital. He gets patched up. What have you. Well, Sami Callahan turns around and does what, and again, I'm probably the non-popular point of view on this, but Sami Callahan did what any savvy professional wrestler should do or would do, and that's he took this, what we call a shoot, or what is referred to as a shoot in pro wrestling, and turned it into a work, meaning a story.
Yeah.
He took reality and turned it into a story. Kudos to him. I think that was a hell of a smart move on his part. But here's where the water's getting murky and gray, folks, because if you listen to Sami Callahan, and he makes a valid point, he will tell you that he's been getting nothing but negativity from most of the people in the wrestling world for doing what he did. And you know what? I can understand that given the current climate of our society and pro wrestling in general. It did come across like he might have purposely tried to hurt him. And the only reason I say that is because if you go back and look at the spot where it happened, he easily could have done something else or something different, still accomplished the same thing, and probably not have hurt Eddie Edwards. And then you could have avoided all of this.
Yeah.
But fast forwarding back to the current state of the situation, you have Eddie Edwards. He took the reality of the situation, turned it into a story. The first thing he did was basically come out and cut a promo. He got on camera and did an interview where he essentially didn't apologize. He wouldn't apologize. That got him even more heat. Then he came out with a T-shirt.
A T-shirt, yeah.
With Eddie's face all bandaged up, and it said, "I broke Eddie Edwards' face." Now, for those of you who are not familiar, there's a similar situation that happened years and years and years ago with Greg the Hammer Valentine and Chief Wahoo McDaniel.
Okay.
And there's an infamous shirt out there where Greg the Hammer Valentine took the time out in a match and broke Chief Wahoo McDaniel's leg. And he had a shirt made up that said, "I broke Wahoo's leg." Very infamous shirt. much the way Sami Callahan is getting a lot of negative feedback or backlash from this, it was the same thing for Greg the Hammer Valentine. But that's what bad guys do, folks. Bad guys are bad guys. They're heels. They're supposed to do stuff like this. In my eyes, Sami Callahan did nothing wrong, with the exception of possibly maybe being a little more not understanding, but a little more cordial with Eddie Edwards after the fact. Because I know he has come out, I think it was on Chris Jericho's podcast, where he said there was a point where him and Eddie had not talked since the incident. So that would have been one thing I would have rectified.
Yeah, when it comes to actually hurting somebody in the ring, that's the first thing you gotta take care of. I wholeheartedly agree with what you say. And for those who are new to the wrestling industry and think that we're complete maniacs for thinking that this is okay, it's as you mentioned with the Greg Valentine and Wahoo McDaniel's situation. It's not new to the company. It's been done before.
Much more recently.
Yeah, and I'm looking at here because all this brought up to me was the infamous SummerSlam '97 when Owen Hart broke Stone Cold's neck via the Tombstone Piledriver. My wife still hates Owen Hart to this day for that. She despises him. She doesn't like wrestling, but she loves Stone Cold.
You know what that means? Owen Hart did his job as a heel.
Owen Hart did the job as a heel. The one thing I will say, though, is Bret Hart has gone on record saying that the one thing he wished his brother would have done was apologize to Austin for what happened. And I agree with that. I agree with, obviously, if you break a guy's neck, the first thing you know, I don't want to sound so, I guess, so cold here, but I guess the one thing you say is, hey, my bad. That was on me.
No,
but
yeah.
At least acknowledge it.
At least acknowledge it, and from what I understand out of all this situation with Sami Callahan is he has not done that. And that is my only issue with this whole thing. Is it okay for him to turn this into a work and make money from it? Yes. This is part of the wrestling business, folks. Whether you're talking pro wrestling or sports entertainment, it happens the same way in both veins.
We talk about here earlier as we were watching the Greatest Royal Rumble with the whole women thing not being there. It's about making money to WWE. Okay, that's part of the business. It's a business. So you're professional wrestling, and spoiler alert, it's not real.
Oh no!
I always hate spoiling that for you guys.
I think I just lost more hair, man.
But with everything, accidents happen all the time. They happen all the time, and thankfully, most of the time they are very minor to where nobody really notices them. But these things do happen, and the first thing, the people that know anything about promoting, whether you are a promoter or a wrestler, about promoting a product, is you take anything that happens and you run with it. You go back to when Chris Benoit, and I mentioned this on the show before, he broke Sabu's neck. He was about to do a back body drop, it was actually a pancake. Supposed to be one of our flapjack or whatever you want to call it.
Flapjack pancake.
Yeah, and Sabu last second decides he wants to land on his back, and doesn't give himself enough time, and completely lands on his head, breaking his neck. And it actually wasn't Chris Benoit's fault, but certainly because he was the guy that did the move, he would take the blame, at least on screen, not necessarily by the guys in the back. Chris Benoit was so worried about Sabu, and all he kept asking was about Sabu. And Paul Heyman, all he kept talking about was what they were going to do with Chris Benoit's character, because now he crippled Sabu. Henceforth, the Crippler became a Chris Benoit. And if you are a fan, any kind of fan of Chris Benoit, you recognize that nickname because that stuck with him throughout the rest of his career.
Yes.
And so that's that's the point that we're trying to make, is you take something bad. Obviously, Sabu breaking his neck, bad, very bad. Thankfully, he would end up being okay and still have a successful career. But you take something bad and you make something, you take shit and you turn it into gold. And that's what Paul Heyman did with Chris Benoit. That's what Owen Hart did when he broke Stone Cold's neck. He had a great promo with him. He had his own T-shirt too. Owen 316. I just broke your neck, as I'm looking at it here. And
again, that was done to put heat on him because he was the heel.
He was the heel. That's how you take real life and you turn it into a script, a work. And we've seen it with other things too, where guys have taken fake things like the Sandman being blinded via candlestick, I believe, or Singapore cane, and he didn't get hurt from that in that sense, but he took it and he stayed home and sold that angle. So there's two sides to how you do this. In this case, you're talking about guys really getting hurt, and although that's not okay, them getting hurt, just like with anything else, life doesn't stop. The business doesn't stop. And for what Sami Callahan did with the Eddie Edwards thing, it was saying, whether he admits to or not, it's taking something that he fucked up with the whole baseball bat, and the business doesn't stop. It's not like, because Eddie Edwards has a broken orbital, like, my career's done. It's, what do you do now? And it's, you take something that is so dramatic, so tragic in this case, because he could have been really serious, and you say, ha, look what I did, and all those people that are pissed off about it, all the fans that are pissed off about it, you're supposed to. That's what he's trying to do. That's a heel work. You don't have to like it, but at the same time, you're probably still watching to see what happens next. You probably want to see him get a piece of a taste of his own medicine. Again, that's what he wants you to want from him.
Yeah, he's a heel. He's a bad guy. That's what he wants. He wants you to be pissed off at him to the point where it aggravates you, and he wants to instill that sensation in you where you want to see him get his comeuppance.
Yeah.
And guess which way to do that is? Either via pay-per-view or attending live. Either way, that's what he's trying to do.
Yeah, I mean, because let me ask you guys this, and please let me know what you think. If Sami Callahan goes in the ring and says, "I'm sorry, Eddie Edwards, for what I did," do you going to care? Are you going to care about this rivalry anymore? No, it's not the same thing. It's when it was, yeah, I did it, so what? What are you going to do about it? Then it's just like, oh, you're going to be like that. Okay, now it's on. That's storytelling right there. Think of any movie you see. Are the bad guys apologetic for what they do? Maybe at the end when the good guy finally gets the piece of their ass, maybe, just maybe, but usually it's just like, all right, you got me. I mean, is the Joker ever apologetic for what he does to Batman? No.
Not unless Batman's right about to beat his ass, and then it's that classic cowardly heel thing where he does back down, but it's never with any real intention because he still wants to kill Batman.
Exactly. So that's to me. I wholeheartedly agree with everything you said about the Sami Callahan situation, including the fact that I wish he would have apologized, make amends with Eddie Edwards. Obviously, Eddie Edwards is the professional in the sense that he's taking something that could have been life-altering, potentially even life-ending, and saying, all right, I'm okay with it, let's do the work.
And now there's another situation to add to this, and Sami Callahan has a problem with it, and that is, apparently, he's under the impression, for whatever reason, that Eddie Edwards is kind of being a hypocrite in this situation because Eddie Edwards apparently went on Bubba Ray's podcast and essentially changed his mind and is now in a roundabout way saying that maybe Sami did this on purpose.
Okay.
To get himself over as a heel. So going into business for himself as opposed to sticking to the script. But Sami has a problem with this because if Eddie Edwards truly felt that way and he stuck to his guns, he would not participate in this situation.
Right.
But he has.
Right.
He has come out with his own shirt or shirts, and he is now making money off of those. So that is where Sami Callahan has kind of, how did he put it? All his give-a-fucks are broken. So he's fed up with things like that. He's fed up with this whole, the business is kayfabe, the business has no kayfabe, back and forth. All of this is coming to a head for him, and he's genuinely pissed off. Is he using that to become that much more of a heel? Or as I like to call him, the ultra heel? Of course he's using it, but it doesn't necessarily mean he's a happy camper doing all of this. And to make matters worse, he basically came out on Jericho's podcast and told everybody that the people in charge of Impact Wrestling kind of stepped to him and told him one way or another, like, hey, you need to go out of your way to make this situation right. And when he tried to do that, he was also told, you need to tone shit down. So he's like, when you can't have it both ways. You can't have your cake and eat it too. The business can't be no kayfabe and then all of a sudden have kayfabe. And I agree with that. I agree with that sentiment wholeheartedly. We're in the age of smart fans.
Yeah.
And if you think of this as anything different, then I'm sorry, you're completely out of the loop, because everybody, to some extent, is a smart fan. Whether you want to be or not, it's in your face all the time, especially if you're a peruser of the internet. Yeah. Even for 5 fucking minutes a day, it's out there. And to sit there and portray otherwise, it makes you a sports entertainer. You have WWE announcers who are told by their company, you can't acknowledge X, Y, and Z, and you can only acknowledge A, B, and C. Right. And that's fine. It works for them because they have their own, they portray their company as their own universe. And to them, it's not professional wrestling. It's sports entertainment. Everybody else, it's wrestling. Yeah. And unfortunately, you don't have that luxury. You can't sit there and I, at this point, I don't know why you would want to be like the big guys, meaning the WWE, because although their product is popular, it isn't popular in professional wrestling. It's its own beast. So, Sami Callahan, kudos to you. I applaud just about everything you're doing right now, minus not initially apologizing to Eddie Edwards. Right. And then as far as this whole thing with him and Kevin Sullivan, that's become its own thing too. Because you have Kevin Sullivan who took the bump, and it was unplanned, and again, Callahan kind of went into business for himself. If you listen to that YouTube interview with Hannibal, Sullivan kind of is his own devil's advocate. He sees where Callahan was wrong into going business for himself, but then he can also understand the other point of view, and so it makes for a very wishy-washy interview. But he at the end of the interview, he says Sami Callahan is going to come across the wrong guy at some point, and he will get a taste of his own medicine. And unfortunately, I really do think that's the karma to this whole situation. And that should be a situation interesting in and of itself when and if it does happen.
Yeah, I agree. And Sami Callahan, I would probably assume that he's prepared for that backlash. He would have to be.
Yeah, he sounds very prepared.
So, for anybody that's ready to take a shot at Sami Callahan, I mean, you're not going to catch him off guard. So That should make for some interesting TV for sure. To talk about Impact Wrestling, I mean, as far as Don Callis and Scott D'Amore go, the only thing I can say to, I guess, defend their reasonings to tell Sami Callahan to tone down is the fact the unfortunate / fortunate position that they're in and being this television show with sponsors and everything like that. I don't know if they're getting pressure from those entities to say, hey, this guy might be a little bit too much for what we want. Case in point, and it wasn't necessarily, it had nothing to, I mean, I guess it's contradictory because they aired the segment with Eddie Edwards on Pop TV. That's just their channel that they're on. They aired that portion, but the barbed wire massacre match that he was involved in, that was too hot for TV. They had to air that on Twitch. I don't know if it's one of those things where still Pop TV sees what's going on with him. They saw the backlash that it's getting with the community and a lot of the fans, that the negative reaction to it, that maybe it's we might have to pull the plug on this guy. I don't know if that's the case or not. I'm not too familiar with how Pop TV does business, but I do know that there's for sure at least a line that they're not willing to cross when it comes to hardcore wrestling.
That's a definite, and it kind of complicates things too if they are a syndicated. If Impact Wrestling on Pop TV is syndication, if it's syndicated TV, then you do run that chance of the product you're putting out there being aired at different times in different markets.
Yeah.
And that can be a real problem for those of you who are horror fans. This happened years and years and years ago with the Nightmare on Elm Street television show. It was syndicated television, so everything was done in advance, for long periods of time. We're
Right.
talking at least half a dozen episodes in advance. And then they were shipped out to different markets for syndicated television. Well, there's only one problem with syndicated television and something of that nature. They can run it whenever the hell they want.
Right.
So the downfall in that case with the Nightmare on Elm Street television show was you had that program going on primetime television in regions of the country like the Bible Belt.
Yeah.
So at 6:30 and 7 o'clock at night, when most people were probably enjoying things like Wheel of Fortune, you had Nightmare on Elm Street, the television show, happening. And of course, that lit a fire under people's asses. And guess what? It got them booted off there and eventually canceled.
Could cause some problems for sure.
Yeah.
To say the least.
So yeah, if that's the case, I could see where Impact is kind of feeling the pressure. But other than that, man, why wouldn't they want this attention?
Yeah,
you're trying to grow the business, and I'm sure both D'Amore and Callis realize this. So maybe that's why they didn't say knock it off completely. They said tone it down.
I mean, that's exactly what I'm trying to. My point is, when it comes to Sami Callahan, this is. I'm going to ask you this question, and I already know the answer to it. It's rhetorical, but is there such thing as bad heat in professional wrestling?
There shouldn't be.
There shouldn't be at all.
There shouldn't be.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, the climate we're in now, it seems like this is a thing. But guess what? If you're a heel and you get heat, any kind of heat, that's what you want. That's your job. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're a heel and you're in the business, this is your job. To garner as much heat as humanly possible.
Yeah, it's as black and white as that. You're there to piss people off. You could be a comedic like The Miz. That's what you're kind of all used to. Not all you are. I apologize about that. But many of the WWE universe is accustomed to. That's your kind of heel that you deal with. Is this goofy comedic antagonize you by calling you dummies or whatever. That's the heel that you're accustomed to, and that's fine. That still works. I don't like The Miz. I find him annoying, and that's kind of the purpose. That's what he does. But then you take a guy like Sami Callahan, where he's violent, he is unsafe as far as the character goes. I still don't believe that he's unsafe as the whole package professional wrestler. I don't believe that at all. But you have that character that is completely unsafe, that he's willing to go as far as possible, as necessary, to get what he wants. And if that means breaking somebody, busting them wide open, he'll do it. And so many of you look at that as, well, that has no place in this business. Well, I'm sorry, but that's been going on longer than you and I have been
decades
around.
And decades and decades, ladies and gentlemen.
That's not new. It's not a new. What we're talking about isn't some brand new phase. It's just, it's kind of been a lost art for a long time.
That's for true. That's definitely true.
When somebody is willing to do that, Sami Callahan, whether you like him or not, is taking a major risk with his career by doing this kind of work. And I don't know what to make of the Eddie Edwards or the Kevin Sullivan remarks, because it seems very contradictory to everything that I've seen and heard prior. But with that being said, it's obviously people know this now. People are aware of this. And Sami Callahan has no intentions for the foreseeable future to tone things down, if you will. So he's ready for the backlash. He's prepared for the backlash. He's not an idiot. Keep in mind, he is a booker of his own right, so he knows how to book, and that's what he's doing. But if he's doing it just for himself, fine. But I still don't believe that either, because let's also face facts here. How many people outside of the wrestling business have been talking about Eddie Edwards, and now he's on TMZ, or at least he's being talked about on TMZ? I'm not much of a TMZ fan. I'm not much into celebrity gossip, but it's TV.
Yeah,
you're on national TV now, being mentioned because somebody busted your face with a baseball bat. It's not the way you want to do it, but it's done.
It's done. It got you there.
So yeah, I love to hear you guys' opinions on it.
Yes, please. You can catch us on our website, 20x20crew.com. You can catch us on Facebook at facebook.com/20x20. You can also check us out on our Facebook group. That's 20x20 Wrestling Talk. If you're not a member, please message one of us and let us know you're interested. We'll definitely add you to the group. You can send your hate tweets to at 20x20crew on Twitter. And we're available on Instagram too, instagram.com/20x20crew.
Make sure you use the hashtag unsafe when you come talk to us. And with that, we're going to go pay some bills real quick. Stay tuned.
Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
You think you can tell us what to do?
I can't tell you what to do.
You think you can tell us what to wear?
I can't tell you what to wear.
You think that you're better?
Hell no, I'm not better.
Well, you better get ready.
But I am smarter.
Bow to the masters.
I'll bow to the masters. The masters over at Raise. Raise will hook you up with all kinds of discounted gift cards for your favorite places to eat, for your favorite places to shop online and in store. They have any place you could possibly think of, and they even have discounts on ride-sharing services like Lyft and Uber in case you guys need to make it to a show. So hop on over and support the show. Support your 20x20 crew. Visit us for more information on Raise and discounted gift cards over at 20x20crew.com/podcast/raise. That's RAISE. 20x20crew.com/podcast/raise. And we got 2 words for you. Save money!
We're back, folks. Thanks again for all the support and helping us pay bills there. We were talking about essentially how to be a heel. It's kind of weird because, getting into something like this and talking about something like this, me personally, I never thought we would have a conversation like this. But I guess it's one of those things like a hazard of the business per se. You eventually got to kind of explain stuff like this, especially to people who I just thought I wouldn't be. I thought I wouldn't have to explain to a lot of people what exactly a heel is supposed to do. And to me, it's just kind of a foreign process. You're a bad guy. You're supposed to be bad. and I just don't get it. I really don't. I know some of this, there's like a small percentage or a percentage of this conversation that has to do with people who buy things like Bullet Club shirts and then don't really know what the fuck they're getting into. That kind of a fan. I can understand that, having to explain that to some of those people.
Yeah. Because
they're posers, they're hipsters just trying to be popular. But still, even of the whole entire crowd of people needing an explanation, that's still probably not that significant of a percentage. For me, anyway.
I think just like with everything else in life, everything kind of comes full circle. So it doesn't surprise me that we have to explain this to people, because there's a lot of newcomers, and that's okay.
That I get.
Yeah, that's what we want. We want newcomers. But then, like, you kind of hit the nail right on the head. You also have those so-called wrestling fans that really don't know the business the way that even a general knowledge wrestling fan would, because this is kind of basic knowledge. I mean, again, I brought up the Joker earlier. Just think of any comic book villain and see how far they're willing to go to get their point across, whether it's world domination or what have you. And that's exactly what is being said here with Sami Callahan and the other instances too, where they're bad guys, and you don't have to like the situation of where where this all started with. Obviously, nobody should like the fact that a guy almost got his head smashed in, almost Negan style, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, we're not trying to.
Yeah, that's not cool.
Yeah, that is not cool. we're not happy with him almost ending a career here. That's not the issue here.
That's not the issue here at all. The thing is, though, it happened, and he's okay. So now what? You have this weird moment, or for some it's a weird moment, to where it's, it happened. Nobody's dead. So what if we roll with it? And that's exactly what he did here. And again, it's not the first guy to ever do this. I can guarantee you he will not be the last.
He definitely won't be the last.
And so this is just, again, wrestling coming full circle. This is one of those angles that it's designed to piss you off, to make you think, to make you wonder what you're watching, and to really tear down that dressing room a little bit. And again, wrestling's fake, but just what if it's real sometimes? Because this is where wrestling becomes real. And a lot of the fans that don't understand that, you're gonna have to broaden your horizons a little bit and step out of the WWE universe or whatever universe you're in, and realize that these things do happen. And once you let go of your negative thoughts of it, you come to think about it, you're really watching something special. Because a guy like Sami Callahan, whether you like him or not, he doesn't come around
very often.
Yeah. It takes a lot of courage, because he's part of the group Ohio versus everything. It's Sami Callahan versus everyone in the wrestling business
right now. Yeah.
And that's a really dangerous thing to do.
Speaking of this, there's one instance that we should reflect upon right now, and that is the incident with Sexy Star.
Yeah.
That happened, what?
Triple Mania 2017.
Okay.
I forgot all about that until you said that.
Yeah, so, again, similar situation. Again, not completely exact, but similar. So Sexy Star was put in. It was
she put, I forget what submission move it was. I think it was an armbar.
it was an armbar.
It was
right?
an armbar she put on to, I forget, drawing a blank on her name. TNA wrestler.
Rosemary.
Rosemary. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, she put an armbar on her. The match is over. She wins. Sexy Star wins the match, retains her title, and she doesn't let go.
She doesn't let go, and she got vilified for what she did. But also, to make my point here, she also didn't embrace it.
No.
There was no. She didn't embrace any of the heel negative shit that comes with being a heel, and she should have, because I guarantee you, she wouldn't be blackballed from places. She would be in fucking demand right now.
Yeah, you know, with the Sexy Star thing too, it's what's different about it is that you can't call this an accident. She blatantly kept her in that armbar, and she put her arm on a socket. I don't think she's competed since that's happened.
Yeah, to my knowledge, she hasn't, and if she has, it's been very low key. No pun intended.
She has competed. No, that was it. That was her last time.
So there you go. Because she essentially right after, everybody was calling her out like, you're not going to work for us because you're legitimately trying to hurt talent.
Yeah.
She should have embraced it and went with it, and eventually someone would have been there to get her and be put on their show.
Ladies and gentlemen, people, whether you like to admit it or not, people are infatuated by monsters. They're infatuated by the dark side. You know, you look at, again, I keep bringing up Hollywood all the time, or comics, but you look at some of the most famous characters, many of them are villains. They stand out for a reason. So when you have somebody like that, and I don't condone the Sexy Star thing at all, by any means, but when you have something like that, you're right. She thought in her head that after doing that, she was still going to be this crazy big baby face, and that was going to be her draw. You go back there, and you have a locker room that's like, what the fuck? Vampiro had to kick her out because it was like, what are you doing? Because Vampiro, he's one of the head guys in AAA, and it was like, what is going on? Like, people are after your head right now. Like, you just need to go. And I remember so many people, like you said, were just like, she's not welcome in my locker room. Cody Rhodes was one of them, and which is crazy that he'd even talk about anything Impact Wrestling because of the fallout he had with them. But yeah, it's one of those things where she was blackballed, but she could probably still get work. Someone, like you said, would probably be willing to take her.
If she would have stuck with it and just rolled with it,
yeah,
and embraced all the negativity, someone would have signed her.
Yeah.
Because she would have been ultra fucking heel. And guess what? That's what you want.
I do remember Rosemary even saying that she holds no hard feelings towards Sexy Star. Like,
there you go. And
it happened.
And you know what? That would have been a plus for the situation had she went ahead
do another match with her.
Yeah.
You know, have the hero at the end of the day get her revenge on the evil Sexy Star. And that's good TV. That's good booking there.
That's good booking.
Yeah. Again, why do you watch Batman? Why do you read Batman? What? Because he beats up bad guys.
Yeah. He's a baby face.
I'm not watching him because, it's, I don't want to see Batman cooking at home or anything like that. Playing cards with Alfred. Like, I don't want to see that shit. I want to see him fight the Joker and all those other characters. So that's again, we have a wrestling business that no matter what era you're watching, it's always going to be dominated by baby faces versus heels. Why not have your heels be mega heels? Why do they have to stop at just being, well, he doesn't get along with this guy? Why not be to where, how are you going to stop somebody that's willing to go this far? Think of it like Braun Strowman. I hate to bring this guy up, but again, he's that character that, well, how do you stop this monster? Well, that's what Sami Callahan is. He's just not as big. as Braun Strowman. He's better, but he's not as big. But it's the same thought process. How do you stop a Sami Callahan that has no boundaries?
Essentially, that's what the WWE has now done with Brock Lesnar.
Yeah.
Because after this fucking shambles of a pay-per-view called the Greatest Royal Rumble...
Are you saying it's not the Greatest Royal Rumble?
Jesus.
You mean Allah.
I think I just lost another toe. That's what they're doing with Brock Lesnar. Don't get me wrong, I can't fucking stand Brock Lesnar. I don't want him around at all.
No.
But guess what? He's, for all intent and purposes, he's a fucking ultra heel right now. Everybody's tired of him having that fucking belt.
Yeah.
Holding it hostage. Everybody's tired of him pulling his bullshit. And guess what? Rightfully so. They should be. But he's doing his job as a heel, whether you like him or not. And I can't stand him. And I'm telling you, he's doing his job.
And not only that, but they're marketing this now.
Finally.
Yeah.
Because for a while there, it was just him being a dick.
Yeah.
But now they're marketing it as such. And guess what? Like it or not, you're gonna tune in and you're gonna see him. You're gonna watch him go against Roman Reigns, whether it be in a cage or in a street fight or on Raw or on pay-per-view, what have you. You're gonna sit and watch. So he's doing his job.
Yeah, and then with the Sami Callahan thing, again, so many people are now saying that he's unsafe. Look, again, he's not the first guy to do this. You know, we talked again earlier. Owen Hart. Are you gonna try to tell me that Owen Hart was an unsafe worker? Owen Hart was one of the greatest professional wrestlers to ever step into foot in that ring. One of the best technicians, mat technicians. He fucked up. He fucked up royally in one match, and it almost cost Austin his career, his life, the broken neck. And he just said, you know what, we're gonna run with this.
Exactly.
We're gonna run with
it.
I'm gonna make a T-shirt. I'm gonna mock you. I'm gonna use your own slogan, Austin 316, and on the back of it, I'm gonna say, I just broke your neck. What an insult that is. Yeah, he should have apologized in the backstage areas or behind the scenes, and that's where Bret Hart has even come out and said that's where he was disappointed with his brother. He should have done that, and I agree with that because again, when you're inside that ring, the most important person in that ring is the other person. You're supposed to protect them, and they're supposed to protect you. Things happen, and nobody should be held, not say accountable. They should be held accountable. Nobody should be vilified for it unless it was intentional. And even then, like you said with the sexy star thing, you could run with it too. But the point is, things happen. Get over it. Get over it. Don't dwell on things like that. Instead, embrace the fact that these parties, because in the sense of Owen Hart and Stone Cold said Ripper was pretty much okay with it. I mean, obviously he did it.
Yeah.
He went with the program. I mean, I know there was resentment, and I don't blame him for having resentment for Owen Hart. Again, that was a big deal, and that cost him. That really took years off his career.
Definitely.
As we'd eventually see. But
you have to get over it.
You got to get over it.
And then do what's best for you and get over it.
If you don't know what we're talking about here, Owen Hart vs. Stone Cold Steve Austin took place at SummerSlam 1997. You can catch that on the WWE Network. If you don't have a subscription to the WWE Network, please get yourself a subscription. Visit our website, 20x20crew.com/podcast/ WWE
Network. It's all one word, folks.
All one word.
Again, that's 20x20crew.com/podcast/WWE Network. If you already don't have a subscription, check it out. You can more than likely also catch that the ECW footage with Chris Benoit and Sabu.
Yeah.
So that's on there too. All on the network right there, ready and able for you to watch. We're going to wrap things up this week. And in the meantime, your homework is to go just experience what real heels do. Take the time out and just try to see it from our point of view. and go go watch whatever you watch normally, whether it be the WWE, New Japan, Ring of Honor, Impact Wrestling, whatever flavor of wrestling you watch and pay attention to the bad guys, folks, and think about what they can do to become better bad guys.
I do want to say one thing. I want to mention one of my personal favorites here is CM Punk. CM Punk, when he was in WWE, he kind of felt stagnant a little bit, and Vince said, "I'm thinking about making you heel, but I'm not so sure that you're cut out for this." And CM Punk is just like, he's laughing at Vince, and Vince is he's just completely baffled. Why are you laughing? Like, I don't think you understand what I'm saying. He's like, no, you want to make me heel. Like, you finally set me free. People want to be heels. Reason why is because your ceiling, your glass ceiling, just raised about 20 feet at least. That's why we say pay attention to what they do, because it's very intriguing. To be a bad guy, to be a heel, your job, again, is to get that crowd to not like you. That's not as easy as it sounds. I mean, you can be a shitty wrestler. I guess that's easy. You can not be good.
But that's not being a heel.
But that's not being a heel. That's being Braun Strowman. so yeah, there's totally different things here. So pay attention to that. It's really entertaining. There's a reason why when she was growing up, I'm older than her, but my youngest sister would always say, you just love the heels. And I was like, well, I like the heels for a reason, because they're entertaining to watch when done correctly.
It's funny you mentioned CM Punk and Vince McMahon. When around the time he got his first tryout with WWE, this was quite a while ago, there was a report, I believe, in The Observer, which is Dave Meltzer's newsletter, where CM Punk had this big opportunity to go work a dark match, and he missed his flight, and he didn't make the dark match. And so, of course, it pissed a lot of people off. Well, CM Punk shows up, and, he's like, okay, I'm here now, and everybody was pissed off, like, you're a fucking idiot, you missed, whatever your reason is for being late or not here, like, this is bullshit. And he just kind of went with it and like, hey, shit happens.
Yeah.
And he had that, just because he had like a lax attitude towards it, because there was nothing you could do. The flight was missed, he missed the flight. It's not like he could just magically fucking appear and teleport there.
Yeah.
But he used that as part of his tryout eventually, and Vince didn't get it. Vince, it was like a totally fucking heel move, completely wasted on ignorance.
Yeah.
And to think, had Vince embraced CM Punk as a heel way back then, think of how much bigger he would be.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
But that's your.
Speaking of CM Punk, though, too, CM Punk, the Summer of Punk. Do you remember that?
Yes. Summer of
Punk, officially, the whole chronology of that has been released on the Honor Club.
Oh.
How can they get a
you can get information on an Honor Club subscription over at 20x20crew.com/podcast/Honor Club. Again, that's all one word. It'll also be on our Ring of Honor page. You can check that out at 20x20crew.com/podcast/ROH.
Do yourself a favor, check out that Summer of Punk.
Yeah, good stuff. Very, very good stuff.
CM Punk, I miss you. Come back. I got to meet him.
Yeah, that was cool.
That was really cool. He was a really down to earth dude. So that was really cool.
But yeah, in the meantime, go watch some heels and get back to us. We'd love to hear what you think. Who's your favorite heel? What is your favorite heel move?
God, yeah.
Yeah, things like that. Definitely collaborate with us.
Bring out your inner heel and get creative with your answers. I want to hear this. I want to really interested to hear, because just like with everything else, there's no wrong answer. I mean, whatever you like. If a Sami Callahan is not your taste of a heel, I want to know what is.
We're going to be your willing baby faces. So, in order to do that, you can catch us on Instagram at instagram.com/20x20crew. You can catch us on Twitter at 20x20crew. You can catch us on Facebook, facebook.com/20x20. You can catch us on our wrestling group on Facebook.
Yes.
If you're not a member, it's free to join. Just get a hold of one of us through the page, and as long as you're willing to be a wrestling fan, that's all we ask, is that you be a wrestling fan.
Join the conversation with fellow wrestling fans,
join the conversation.
as well as Joe and myself.
And please, you can do that. Search us on Facebook. Search for 20x20 crew. No, I'm sorry, 20x20 Wrestling Talk. And then, obviously, our home base on the interwebs there is 20x20crew.com.
Did we mention YouTube?
Please, oh my God.
Please.
We're on YouTube. You can go to 20x20crew.com and search for our YouTube information. We need subscribers.
Please subscribe.
Subscribe.
Tell your friends. Tell your parents.
Yes.
Tell their parents.
I'm interested in what mom and dad think about heels and baby faces.
Yeah.
So
heels of their era.
Oh my God, yeah. I bet your dad knows at least one. So there you go.
My dad is the heel. He's the ultimate heel.
And with that, we're going to bid you adieu for another week.
Yes. As always, please support professional wrestling of all kinds.
Hashtag support the heels. Hashtag support the baby faces.
So then, I've been Matt.
I'm Joe. And we'll see you in the ring.